And welcome to another edition of the Gamut Report with your host, Matt Hribar. I'm in here with two awesome guests. We're back again, once again. It's Jeezy J. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
And we also got a new guest today.
Hey.
Returning guest, ET, is in the house.
Phone home.
Phone home. With the Reese's
Phone home.
Now, today we're talking about it's a crazy topic. We just got this topic kind of together, so it's a little last minute, but not in a bad way. So we're going to be talking about age and memories and just kind of stories having to do with experience. Now, we're all pretty young, comparatively. I'm 22. And you guys are both 24, correct?
23. My
23.
God.
I just jumped the
my
pony.
gosh. Last night,
23.
somebody was saying, like, at age 24, 25, it's normal to have a baby, and we're still over here, like,
I was just saying nobody's sad. Like, no one's like, wow, a teen pregnancy.
But it doesn't mean you're married at 24, 20. I don't know. There's, like, so many things. It's just, it's weird. It's, like, more accepted. Like, oh, yeah, I had you at 22. It's like, that doesn't mean it's okay to have a baby now at 24. Yeah. Like, you're not financially stable. Don't
it's
have
weird
a baby.
because I think in, like, the medieval age, we'd be halfway through our lives.
Oh. No, we'd be grandmas right now.
As cavemen, we'd also be like halfway through our lives. But now, the age expectancy is about 80, I think, in America right now.
90s.
One of my aunts became a grandma at the age of 44, which I think is so early. Like, I'm pretty sure my mom had my brother at 41 or something.
Oh. No, that is early. So I guess, you know what? Let's start off with a happy note. Well, it's the first memory that you can recall.
I actually
don't know
what my first one was. Oh, man. I know that at the age of, like, 2, I wanted to touch something that I wasn't supposed to touch. My dad was like, do not touch this. Or, like, I don't know, you'll get a timeout or something. And I did. I, like, put a cracker in the VCR or something. And I was a deviant.
I definitely don't think this was my first memory because my memory is awful. But I do remember my mom blow drying my hair and she told me not to stick my fingers in the light socket. And so I was like, okay, I won't do that. So I took a bobby pin and just tried to, like, jam it in there. And she's like, stop that. And I was like, okay. And so I took a fork and, like, tried to, like, play with it because I wasn't using she didn't tell me what else to not put in there. And meanwhile, she's just blow drying my hair and was like, she sees me grabbing this stuff and she's just like, I don't know what goes on.
Your mom blow dried your hair as a child?
Well, yeah, you have to.
You were like trained to be a diva from the beginning.
Well, if you want your daughter's hair to look a certain way for a family gathering, you have to do it.
Yeah.
Really?
You can't just, like, air dry it. It'll look all stringy.
I thought little girls just...
The little girl hair gets so naughty.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was never a little girl.
You have the same full mane that you do now, like fully curled.
Yeah. My mom would put curlers in it and everything.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I think my
you were the
first
only girl,
memory,
that's why.
Yeah.
I think my
she
first
wanted
memory
it.
was when I was 3 or 4, I would use, like, plastic food. And you'd, like, pretend to be chefs and stuff. I remember taking plastic food, and I would make, like, statues on the floor with them kind of thing. Like, I would make, like, human being designs and be like, that's so-and-so, that's so-and-so with the food. And it was, like, some kind of weird statement piece. I don't really know.
I think you're, like, low-key asking for dolls.
No, it wasn't
or
like,
action
no,
figures.
it was, like, full-figured humans.
Oh,
like,
wow.
it'd be a 6-foot, like, plastic food... like, on the floor.
What did you use for the arms and legs and the body?
The food is used as,
but
like,
which food? Which food?
I mean, it'd be, like, plastic apples, plastic ice cream cones,
so what were the
pizza.
arms usually?
Honestly, I don't remember the
bean?
specific food that I used.
Mix it up.
But I just remember I would be, and I'd be like, oh, that sounds so. My mom would be like, oh, that's crazy. Like, that's awesome.
She didn't think, like, my kid's a freak.
My kids are
That's like a pretty tame thing to do with your toys.
I remember that. I do. I remember. I think. Do you ever have those false memories where you think that something happened when you were a child, but it didn't happen?
Yeah, I think that all the time.
I have that about the future.
My biggest one was
I won an Emmy, like...
right now.
Like, I think things are going to happen and then they don't.
Well, when I have a false memory, though. When I was 4, that a black family moved in across the street, and I ran into the kitchen, and I said, Mom, there's a black family across the street. And she slapped me and said, you call them an African-American family. You do not use the word black. And my mom swears, first of all, I didn't tell her that I had this memory until I was, like, 20, 21.
Oh, yeah.
And then she goes, that never happened.
They love saying that.
But, like, I don't know. Maybe it is one of those false memories where, like, like, it was a dream, and then I thought it was real. Like, have you ever had that before?
Yeah.
Oh, I have a memory my mom definitely denies. I wanted dessert after dinner once. I was, like, 7 or 8. And I was like, what can I have? Like, there's pudding, like, whatever. And my mom just, like, quietly grabbed one of my love handles and went, oh yeah, dessert, huh? And then I thought differently about what to eat after
know,
dinner.
Mom
And she's like,
says
I
so.
never did that. I'm like, you definitely did.
Oh yeah, I remember when I was little. Anytime I would like put myself together, I would have family members and like my mom and grandma. They would always be like, "Jessica, you have a beautiful face, but that body, it does not match." And I would just like sit there like with my little Miss Sunshine belly, and then they'll like make me eat dinner and make me eat 2 dinners a night and have all this food and candy
It's like,
and
well,
cake.
whose fault is this?
And then they're just like, and I'm just sitting there like, well, I don't, like, you don't understand like what you're supposed to do.
Another thing too is I remember in my childhood eating a lot of unhealthy food. Like sometimes I'll think about, I
too.
eat like a little bit of unhealthy food.
I don't think it was unhealthy.
but
I was
It's
just
just a lot.
eating
I
a
just
lot
remember
of
a lot of
food.
buffets. I mean, I remember a lot of like fried food, a lot of snack.
Really?
Like
The snack thing with kids is so unnecessary.
it is.
Because we are.
Because they don't
you're-
actually want to eat. You're just like,
True,
here.
and your bellies are only as big as your fist or something like
Yeah.
that. And I just remember every time someone saw me, they're like, "You want a snack? You want a snack?" And I remember coming home from school, I would eat like potato chips and have like a 2-liter every day for like 3 years. And then
crazy.
that's how I
Wow.
got to be 190 pounds in high school.
My mom did
So-
not give us snacks.
Now that
And
we're
you were
all in our early
petite.
20s, how
So
how
fat.
does it feel like it's changed? So, and I know especially because we're part of this generation where we grew up on like the early side of the technology
yeah.
boom, and now it's like, oh my gosh, like there are 4-year-olds who master iPads, like 5-year-olds who have like cell phones. Well, I don't know if it's that young, but
No,
how
it
does
is.
that feel? Does that make you feel old or does that make you feel young?
I don't feel like I grew up outside of like the technological.
Which is really
boom.
nice.
We still had computers in like first grade. I mean, they were like the big Macs, but they were still nice. So
Yeah.
I feel like we grew with technology, so I don't feel out of touch with it. But
Yeah.
I would if I was even like probably 3 or 4 years older.
Yeah, it's actually really frustrating working with people who are in the generation above me and above that because they just expect me to either A, know everything,
Yeah.
or B, like, oh, this should be easy for you. And sometimes it is, but also it's just really frustrating when it's like, okay, if this is the standard that everyone's going to be using this system to communicate, meanwhile, everybody else doesn't use it.
Yeah.
Because they're like, I don't get it. And it's just like, well, that's how we are still with like when the iPhone updates or Facebook updates. But after like a week or something, everybody
Yeah.
gets it. It's like, you just got to try. And so it makes me feel like, I guess, more relevant. Just because like if something comes out, I just like read about it for like a second, watch a video, got it. And so I don't think it makes me feel old or younger. It just makes me feel present.
Interesting. What's your this is gonna be kind of a fun question. So I'm gonna ask you right now to think about what's your mental age, what's your emotional age,
gosh.
what's your
Oh.
physical age,
Okay, let's
and
do
what's
one at
your
a time.
spiritual age?
Oh my God, there's so
Yeah.
many.
I know my physical age.
So we'll
is
start
like-
we'll start with mentally.
Mental?
How old do you feel mentally? I would say I feel like I'm in my 50s or 60s mentally.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Because I know part of this is my background. My mom's a teacher. Both my parents have masters. My grandfather, my grandmother, like education was huge for them. So when I was in second grade, I was already reading at like a 5th, 6th grade level. So that was a huge kind of jump that I had. And then it got to a point in high school where instead of kind of like grabbing all this information to kind of throw into my head like some kind of vault, it was more expressing that knowledge through application. So it was kind of like, oh, I know about this, or like maybe I want to kind of go deeper into something. And so, yeah, I definitely feel like, especially compared to my peers, like I feel like I don't really relate well to people in my 20s sometimes because it's just like they focus
I
a
know, I
lot
get
on
that.
the materials. They focus a lot on like
Oh, I
a
didn't
lot
think about
more.
that. Yeah,
It's like
that's
a
true.
lot. It's like just mentally sometimes I'm just like, I want to talk about deep conversations. I want to talk about like, so I'm all for talking about memes. I'm all for talking about like fun entertainment.
I
But
can't believe people
sometimes
really
I
talk
don't
about
think
memes.
people in our 20s realize they don't have the depth. Some do, some don't. And I mean, that's all ages, though. I know people in
yeah.
their 50s and 60s who mentally are 20 or even 12 sometimes. But yeah, I definitely would say 50s, 60s mentally.
And I think my mental age is, oh gosh. I want to say it's probably, I don't necessarily always act this way, but it's definitely, I would say like late 20s, early 30s.
Okay.
When it comes to a lot of like things like this is what you do in order to like take care of yourself, or like just like little things like you kind of like I feel like I have a general concept of like sometimes it's okay to spend a little bit more money on this, but I don't always act that way. And I definitely value like certain relationships I have because of the more depth behind it than like, yeah, I do have girlfriends that I love going out, meeting guys with. Like, it's super fun. But I also have friends that I can like just sit and not spend money with and have like a intellectual conversation that makes me have like a different outlook on life, or at least a better understanding. So next time if I'm in a situation, to understand like how a person walks in their shoes and like why they make decisions like that. And also like working at so many different places, I've like, I don't know, I definitely feel like I have like two backgrounds. One's where I could just be completely like me, only think about myself, and the other background of like family and friends that surround me, like my environment, it like grounds me, and it just like makes me appreciate either where I came from and where I'm going, and like understand how people are maybe in the situations that they are. And I think since my mental age is like a little bit higher, I think like overall it's kind of like, it gets frustrating sometimes when you meet people who are like 5 years behind you.
Oh gosh, I have no idea what my mental age is. Sometimes I feel like a 50-year-old who's like already past their exciting years. Not that I've done like crazy things, but I don't know.
Well, I feel like you have like expectations for certain relationships with people, and it's just like not going to happen right now.
I feel like I'm not young. Like I need to flit around with different people. Like,
I think when it comes to mental age, it's not like, oh, if I mentally think I'm like 50, it's not really where you're saying, oh, I'm not fun anymore. It's just like the experience and depth that you've had. It feels a lot more than me being 22. Like, I genuinely feel like I'm not at the experience of 22 mentally, because I feel like I've absorbed so much, done so much, and just gone into the world, you know, like tentacles spread out, just trying to soak up things. And I think
but that's like your personality too. Like, I feel like you're like a huge sponge, and I'm like a little bit smaller than that sponge. Like, we like trying new things, and we're not always like, we might have like, I'll be afraid of something, but that doesn't mean we don't do it. And so, and other people like around our age, they'll be like, oh, I never left the country. I'm like, why not? How did you go through college and not leave the country once?
Or not even.
It doesn't make sense.
Like physically where you have to leave the country, but like.
But if money wasn't a
thing,
thing, like how did you not do that?
What is it like to be schizophrenic? What is it like to be a criminal? What is it like to be, you know, a woman even? Like, just thinking about other perspectives and other ideas, and doing that research and meeting new people who've gone through that. And most people, they just don't.
They're just like, I don't know. I'm like, doesn't that bother you? Like, how do you just like say, I don't know? Like, look it up, figure it out. Well, like, watch a documentary, or we have Google in our hands at all times. Like, figure it out.
What about emotional? What's your emotional age?
I feel like an insecure 13-year-old.
Oh, that's so sad.
Yeah, so I think that for sure I know, but combined with like the
like, how do you think you handle
like
your emotions? Like, what age?
Oh, well, I think I still handle my emotions like someone who's like lived and been through it and like isn't gonna freak out about like like I mean that's how I feel, and I try to react that way. Like I don't like to just go with my first instinct and react that way, because it's harmful, and that makes me feel a little bit older. But in like how I think of myself and how I think the world sees me, I feel like I'm 13.
Oh, I don't think the world sees you as a 13-year-old, but I don't like to talk about feelings unless I want to talk about them. And then it's very like, I feel like I'm very much like, it's like obvious that I'm like the baby of my family sometimes when it comes to emotions, or even at work when somebody did something I don't want to. I was like, I don't understand. I'm like higher than you, and I was told by my boss that you're supposed to do what I say. But I didn't convert that to her. I was just like, oh, okay. Like, I handled that calmly. But I feel like if it kept happening, it would just like, I would actually say that's like statement to that person, and which is like rude and like a power thing almost. And I'm still very like, when people are like, oh, I can't ever picture you like getting mad or freaking out. Meanwhile, I've had people be like, you have an anger issue. I was like, no, I don't. You can't clean a bathroom. And so I guess it also just depends like on who I'm with. Like, the older I've gotten to appreciate like family like 1,000 times more, and like how much they sacrifice. Like, there's like stuff like the other day I came home from work, I was like, I couldn't imagine making dinner and taking care of somebody, picking somebody up from practice. I was like, no, I did enough today. I'm gonna be at home.
It's so crazy.
But I'm trying to think of a number to put for my emotions. I would say it's probably like a 17-year-old.
That's actually pretty
That's
you know,
what I
like
was-
you're not old enough to vote,
Yeah.
but you can drive, and like you kind of have a curfew, but you're gonna break it anyways. Like that's kind of my
You're like
emotions
over
are.
the worst part of being a teenager, but still like,
I
don't push
still,
me.
Like, I'm on my period. I'm gonna be angry
chocolate.
and I'm gonna take it out on everybody. But it's gotten a little bit better, but it's definitely like I still get like like on the inside. I'll think a bunch of stuff. I'm like, if people could hear this right now, like it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
To this question, I kind of have like 3 different responses in a way. I'm very reactionary sometimes, so in those times when I'm reactionary, I am a 5th grader. Like the grudgy 5th grader
Really?
who
I
is
could
ready to
never
snap
imagine that.
back. Well, it's in really rare forms, but like...
I could see it.
And it's not even sometimes directly to a person's face, it's just internally.
Yeah.
Like if
'Cause
someone
it's
snubs
where your
me
thoughts
or whatever,
go.
it's just like, I'm like, you know, and then, then I get over it. But I would say most of the time, I definitely act my age emotionally, like 22, kind of like frantic, a little like, oh my god, like the future's so scary, and like, you know. But I'd also say when it comes to like emotional intelligence in terms of like reading emotions of other people and kind of diving down into emotions, I would say probably even 30. Mainly because with my experience of just kind of like being able to like read people and like I feel like it's very advanced. And one thing too is I think with emotion, like I'm very good at detecting when I'm content. And for me, when I'm content, like I feel like most people know when they're content, but most people kind of don't really recognize what that means for me. Like content's like a bad thing. Like I want to be more than just content. And then I go off of that. How do I change that feeling inside? How do I change my emotions? Like take this
that's
content
definitely
and make
early
this the best.
20s fears.
And that to me is like more of a sign of like maturity. Even though sometimes there's the 5th grade emotion side of me, and then there is like the status of just being 22, and that's like emotional in of itself.
Yeah.
So physically. What age do you feel physically?
Probably like I'm probably way too cocky for my body right now. It just like depends what environment I am. There are some times where because it used to be so bad. Like in college, it was so bad. Like you would have thought I was like 12, just having boobs for the first time, and I'm like, oh, like, and my mom wouldn't let me wear underwear bras or something. But like in college,
Underwear.
yeah, and. But now I feel like it's almost like borderline. Well, at least how I'm acting is more of how I imagine like hopefully women act in their 30s. Because I hear like usually women are by then they're like don't give a f about it, and because it's like how we should be. I was just like, and there's so many women even at the gym like. Women look so different, and I'm always like shocked. I was like, how? And they're all different ages and stuff. And like to me, I don't know if guys look at women, they're like, oh, they all kind of look the same. Because I feel like when I look at men, like there's like you're either like fat, skinny, or medium. Like it just seems very meaty, like strict lines. And to me, but then again, since women are so harsh on their bodies, I think everybody
most
is
women
actually
look way better than they think they do.
But I definitely would probably say like now it's definitely like higher than it has been, but I would probably say like 29 if I could give it an age.
Body.
Yeah, except because there's stuff that I feel like right now, because I've been told by people who are like in their 30s or 40s, if you want to change anything about your body, like for the love of God, do it in your 20s. They're like, it's way easier. And so that's also like puts like pressure on because there are certain things that like there's no reason for. Like I'm educated enough and like have the access and funds to like live a healthier lifestyle.
Yeah.
But
I can't
here I
imagine
am.
like not setting standards for yourself now. Like imagine wanting to change
When
your
you're
lifestyle after
too late.
35. Like, this is a solid habit.
Well, just because like metabolism, like, I mean, my knees are already going now. I'm 23.
Well, and I would agree with you there too. Like for me, like I joke that I look like I'm on my second divorce. And I have 3 kids. But in reality, like I know I look young. I'm 22. I think that comes across really well. I think most people would pin me between the age of 22 to 25. But sometimes and this comes probably from like because I do weightlifting, so it's not like I'm just running on a treadmill. I get sore like very easily. Like right now, like my leg. I did the legs yesterday in the gym, and like my booty is sore, my thighs are sore, my legs are sore. And, like, that to me doesn't feel like 22. That to me feels like I'm, like, 60 and I'm, like, using my walker sometimes.
But how do you feel, like, mentally about your age and, like, how you view your body?
I think I view my body positively. I used to actually have trouble with it. I used to consider myself fat. I used to try and do everything I could within my power. Like, I would eat nothing but salad. I would do these fat burners. I would, like, work out excessively. And I got to a point where I had to realize, okay, I'm just stocky. I'm just a stockier build, and you can be a healthy stocky.
Yeah, it's true.
They have chicken broth, stocky chicken broth, but you can always be low sodium or low fat chicken broth. You don't have to be.
Yeah, you can be the healthy
exactly.
choice.
So, and I feel better because,
Chicken noodle
even though,
soup.
I know I have some pockets of fat, I'm feeling them right now in studio. You're not getting the visual.
Yeah, you guys are lucky. I'm just kidding. You're beautiful.
I can feel the muscle underneath it. And also, I'm toned to the point where, and this isn't to be critical of people who, the fat sometimes, but sometimes fat, it's just the way, because it's so untoned, and, there's this way it, kind of, it just sinks.
Mm-hmm.
At least with me, when I look at my belly, it's like the skin is, kind of flawless. It's hairy a little bit. But, it's kind of a tight fat. I wear fat well. I think most people would look at me and be like, oh, he's probably 180 to 200, even though I'm, probably 230. So I wear it well, which is another positive thing. I think,
that's how I feel,
see myself, and I'm like, oh, I look really good. And so, in that terms of body positivity, I totally feel 22. Sometimes when I get sore, when I work out, and I'm trying to run, and I'm like the person who in the scary movie, when the person's chasing you, I'm the first dead. I know that.
Oh, no.
I can't run more than
I have
20
no
feet.
idea.
Jog in the springtime definitely feels like
Well, I
first
feel like
dead.
everybody
Oh,
around.
gosh.
What's nice about this age is people have been skinny their whole lives. They're like, oh my god, this is exhausting. I can't eat whatever I want anymore. I was like, welcome to my freaking
entire
first
life.
grade
At
life.
least I won't have to deal with
Till
that.
now.
I will not have to deal with that point where people who have been skinny all in their late 20s, 30s.
And they're like, I'm not a
they're
size
gonna,
1 anymore. I was like,
they're gonna
girl,
go to heck.
that's
Just
not a
everything's
thing.
gonna go to heck, and they're gonna I'll be there. I know if I eat 1 carrot, I gain a pound, and I've accepted that. Versus I think people who their metabolism is just gonna go. Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah.
Well, I can't imagine being skinny your entire life, and then your 30s hit, or your early
it
40s
happens.
hit.
That's
and you're
when you see people who are so massive,
skinny kids, fat
and they're
parents.
you're just like, oh my goodness, that's what's gonna happen.
my future.
That's what's gonna happen,
Yeah,
and
it's crazy.
But at least I was even though my mom was well aware of she's gonna have fat kids and it was trying, we did it we would do jazzercise every day after school. The only thing that wasn't installed in me was how to eat. And I feel now hopefully schools are teaching it more, because this generation is pretty screwed, because it was more work out, but it wasn't oh, maybe eating Doritos after a soccer game. It doesn't go through your mind, and parents just don't think about it that way either.
Our parents didn't know what to feed us for sure.
Yeah, because they're just this is branded for kids. Let's feed it to them.
I mean, especially back then when they could get away with saying, this juice is for kids, and
for
on the label,
100% juice.
Nobody
no
should
juice.
be drinking Capri Sun. That's just, you might as well mix sugar in their water and give it to them. So
Yeah, people don't. I don't think people really pay attention. Now, these days, I feel we're hypersensitive, where it's oh my god.
But still, people don't know.
People don't know.
At
That's
all.
true.
or you probably get lazy and give it to them anyway. Having to think of healthy meals for your kids every night.
But if it's branding you in the beginning, then it
don't do
should
that
be.
myself.
And a lot of it, I wish people would listen to their, when they're say I'm full, or I'm not hungry. It's not trying to be mean, but my parents took it as if I was oh, I'm not hungry. They would be like, oh, you don't want to come sit down and have dinner with us. And it's just no, I'm you've just fed me an hour ago.
Wow.
It's just it was too much, and it's just frustrating. And I wish how society works. I feel we live in a very cult, socializing means food, and I wish it was more it could mean adventure and stuff.
Now, what about spiritually? What age do you think you are spiritually?
What do you mean by that?
Well, and
you
this
talk
isn't-
about yours first,
Yeah, I'll talk
so
about
I
it.
can think
Well,
of mine.
Just to clarify, and this is a whole other podcast, but to me, there's a difference between spirituality and religion. Religion implies, you're working with other human beings in terms of your spirituality. But when it comes to spirituality in general, that can just kind of mean your connectedness to the earth, connectedness to a higher power, connectedness to animals,
definitely a
to
grandmother
nature.
Willow.
I know, right?
my
I'm over here
God.
I like to think of it that way, but
No, I mean, to me, spiritualness, it has to do with the spirits around you, and not even necessarily any religion. It's just kind of spiritually. Where do you feel? Does that answer
I feel
your question?
a lazy tornado. Is that the type of answer you want?
Grandmother Willow and Lazy Tornado.
Yeah, I feel
I am
that's
aged
actually
Lazy
really
Tornado.
funny and really good.
because it's just how my thoughts work and what I want and all this stuff. I'm want it now,
It's
now,
all
now, now,
cycling.
and then, but then I'll
It's
be
amazing.
I'll sit down and be whoa, and
Jeezy J, the Lazy Tornado.
Yeah.
That's actually
Your
really
new bio
great.
tag on your profile picture. I'm a lazy
follow my
tornado.
Insta at lazy T. Is that what you're looking for?
I was gonna just go with an age, but we could could be a biome or a disaster.
An age.
Well, like in terms of how you
you
relate to other spirits and like nature and stuff, I do feel like.
What age, Matt, for you? I don't know. And then I'll think of mine.
I mean, I feel spiritually sometimes 60, 70. I think it goes back to the experience point.
Really?
Mentality.
Do I need to remind you of New Year's Eve, New Year's Day night?
Listen.
What kind of 6-year-old did that?
I feel like you have a young spirit.
You're very young.
I have a young spirit.
Old people don't like to try new things, Matt.
No, listen, but spiritually, I feel the experience has been huge for me. I think I have dived into a lot of topics and a lot of, just like last week,
not afraid.
Part of the novel that I was writing, I had to write a survivor statement about how they were raped as a young child. And I've never been raped as a small child. I never raped a small child. I've never known anyone who was raped as a small child. But yet I had to place myself into that spirit. And even if it was a fictional spirit, it took some time.
Did you do some research?
No, I just kind of sat and thought about it for a few minutes and just started writing and what made sense. And I think that ability to kind of relate to spirits and relate to stories, I think that puts me at a higher age. So yeah, I'm a young spirit. I'm fun. I'm wow, it's the Gamut Report with Matt Hribar. But at the end of the day, I think just the amount of it goes back to the mentality aspect of it too, where it's the experience that I seek has molded me pretty further than just me being 22.
Yeah, like what you said about being content.
Next, but no, go ahead. I'm gonna write it down, and then because you didn't answer the question yet, so go ahead.
Oh, I don't know. I was just going to say, you said earlier you don't like to be content. So going after, what can I do to be a better version of myself and relate to people better that's pretty true for me.
And I think that takes a lot of experience, a lot of age. I think a lot of people it's kind of they don't mind kind of just doing trial by error.
We're very, surface level with the internet, I think. You can just sit on the toilet and read a Snap story and think you know what happened in, the Sudan because you clicked through, a 2-minute Snap story about it.
It kind of reminds me too, this is an army term, but friendly fire. It's when you accidentally injure your own people because you're so focused on the task or you don't have the right information. I think a lot of people do that to themselves. So there's this idea of friendly fire upon your own sense of self because you're too busy trying to become something or you're too busy trying to be something.
I feel like people do that in relationships sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. People
especially when
themselves.
People get in those pseudo marriages. It's just and you're just watching it, you're just you would have done this for the last month instead of that. But that person, I don't think, views it as wasted time because they're happy at the moment. But then I always wonder when they get out of those pseudo relationships, are they all truly oh, I'm glad to have that experience? Or are they all truly does anybody ever regret? Because then they just get back and do it again. So I don't know.
I know what you mean. I think one thing that I'm working on that I think is important just mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, it's being able to accept other people's decisions. I think a lot of times
it's so hard. Especially if you care so much about them.
It's very hard for me to look at something and I have my own opinion. And this goes for even casual friends sometimes too, who'll be
or even
I want to move to San Antonio and go to surgery school or whatever. And I'm you can't even last one day in Ohio at your job. So but you're I want them to do what's best for them. I want them to make their own decision, but it is very hard. And I think once I get back to the point where I only make decisions for myself, and while I maybe give advice or input if people need it, I have to accept what they want to do.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I'm working on. I think spiritually, just being able to let other spirits be.
Yeah.
I think because I'm a huge writer, I'm a huge creator. I'm always used to kind of being in control of projects, and people are not.
And how the story. How the story ends when you write something, and with people, and people like to make their own mistakes, and I'm definitely one of those people, and I do value opinions, but I want to. That doesn't mean I don't want to do it. You could tell me what's going to happen, and I'd be you were right. You were right about that person. You were right about that decision. I shouldn't have done that, but I still want to do it, and I don't regret doing that.
I think it's better to be that way. I'm the opposite. I could let a million comments take me back very far.
And you listen to them, you mean?
I think, I think. Or even things that people haven't said, but what I imagine people would say, I'll be well, okay, that's a bad idea. Never mind, not going to do it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and
then you stay in that place.
It's interesting that you said, Jeezy, you were I want to make those mistakes. I'm like the opposite. I'm like, I do not want to make mistakes. I do not want to fail. And part of me wonders.
I don't think making mistakes is failing, though.
No, I know, but like I have that mentality.
It's making a choice.
And I wonder, is that more harmful or is it more good? Is it good that I'm trying to avoid those situations in general, or maybe do I need those
Probably
situations?
Have to be balanced about it.
No, I don't think it's either. I think it's just how you have to understand, like, people's grow differently and their mental thought process is different, and what works for me isn't going to work for you versus like ET. Like it's all different, and at the end of the day, I like when I did a program in Chicago, the best thing I learned is like you have to worry about yourself.
Yeah.
Before you go like digging in somebody else's yard, you know, like you have to worry about yourself, and just no matter how much you care about something, even if it's a project that you're trying to get done, it's like you have to zone in, like this is what I was told to focus on. I need to worry about this. You can't always, because you can't control people, especially after nobody's a kid anymore.
Yeah. So I feel like I am a small risk taker, but I don't feel like I can't really remember anything that I've been like a huge risk taker on. Like even when I was like running homecoming and I'm like, where should the venue be? Like it's a risk. Like at the end of the day,
I don't think that is a risk.
That's not
a decision.
Risk. You know, and it's like, how do I make better, like, I don't know. Part of it's like, do I take risks regardless of if I know the benefit or the consequence, and I just shoot for the stars because maybe I'll land at the moon or whatever. Shoot for the moon and you land at the stars.
That's way easier said than done, though.
It is. To me, it's just like, it's very hard for me to take a risk when I know there's a large chance of failure, or it's like even 50-50, or even like if it's 80-20, that 20%
I think you just have
scares me.
You have that 20% instead of looking at it as a negative, just be like, it's a learning process. Because I've definitely taken like some risks that people are like, I can't believe you just did that. I was like, well, why not? Like, I won't know unless, I don't have an answer unless I do it.
You miss 100%
I know.
of the shots you don't take.
And another thing too is I don't want to be 80 and have... Because as of right now, as of 22, I have no regrets, which is very positive.
Really?
There are situations, I will say, there are situations where I wish I could have maybe redone a little bit, or like going back on, I'm like, okay, well, this would have been better at the time, but it's in the past. So like, very thankful that I don't have regrets. You know, there's not the one that got away. You know, I don't anything.
Yeah, I don't have regrets about like personal relationships with people at all, which is sad because I'm sure there are like some friends out there that I'm not friends with anymore that are like, really? And it's like, yeah, because at the end of the day, like, true colors came out from both of us, and we're both, everybody's happier that we're not friends or in a relationship anymore.
I can't even imagine having regrets about the way like you treat people, like seriously, or people who do it again and again and are like,
really?
wow,
I definitely regret how I've treated people.
I have the best social circle that I've had my whole life is right now. The last year has probably been the best social circle. And not even a year. I would even say this year. Well, it's 2017. Let me rephrase.
You're like,
since
best 8
for
days
most
yet,
of 2016 and up to now, I feel like I've finally gotten to the place where like, these are the people I want to spend my life with. My 20s.
My gosh.
You know, it was a point where like, and I'll admit it, as much as I'm like a social butterfly, in high school, I really didn't have any friends. Like, everyone knew me. I was I was popular in a way, but I was like one of those like weird populars where like, you know, I was the kid who was doing everything in the school. I was the kid who made music videos. I was the kid who was like kind of crazy and fun. But, you know, I didn't really connect with anyone too deeply. So when I came to college, and I think a lot of people do this, like a lot of people kind of get rid of their high school friends when they enter college. Like a lot of people do that,
or they try to, and then they realize that they're not replaceable and they keep them forever. Depends on your experiences.
And you enter college, and I think my freshman year, I remember, I was just like, I want to make all these friends. And then as you go through college, and then you're a postgraduate, and you keep moving forward, it's interesting to see what sticks and what doesn't.
And what comes back in your life is very fascinating.
Absolutely.
It's interesting. And how much, like, sometimes when people come back in your life, you're like, wow. And then they leave again, or you leave their life again. It's just interesting.
There's a great quote. It's like, I think it's more of a poem than a quote, but basically it's this argument. It says, there are some people who will create a fire in you that won't die, even if like they themselves will leave, or that fire is not meant to be. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine meeting someone who, whether it's just a friendship or family or, you know, a partner, you know, someone who I'm dating or getting married to, who creates such a fire in me, and then they leave. And that's just part of life.
Or even a career, you know?
Or a career.
Like, you could be at a company that you're just so thrilled about, and all of a sudden either like you were only supposed to be there from these dates, and now it's done now. You didn't even get laid off or fired, or or you get laid off, or you get fired,
yeah.
or they go out of business. Like,
and for a long time, I thought like being in Cleveland for like the rest of my life had to be a thing. But now I'm at the point where I'm like, well, if the right opportunity comes, take the opportunity. And I'm so blessed that I think, and that kind of goes back to the spiritual age and the mental and the emotional age, that I've been able to mature to like the reality. You know, like it's not about what's comfortable; it's about what's best for me. Like, yeah, Cleveland would be comfortable for living and for socializing. Yeah. But, you know, if the right job comes in Portland or Seattle or, you know, even L.A., and it's not like I even want to really move to L.A., but, you know, out there, that's what I want to do in a way. Though. That's, like, kind of the center for media. But, I don't know, it's interesting to see how that's developed. And that's only been in the last 6-7 months, too.
That's crazy to me because I've always grown up thinking, like, I'm not going to spend my youth here. Like, because, and then I went to college here and I was like, well, that wasn't in my cards at all. But financially, it was the best thing for me to do. And like now I'm like upset about it. But either way, college was just going to be expensive. That's just how it was going to go. But it's just like, and right now that I'm here still, it like bothers me. But at the same time, I've gotten to be a part of so many things in the last like year and a half with friends I do care about, like, deeply. So it's like I'm happy to have those times. But then again, I usually make the best out of every situation. Yeah.
So I think you benefit from having, like, an affordable base. Like, I think you were able to branch out a lot more because...
True.
You made the right decision to be here.
And it's funny how you said, well, not funny. I like how everyone's like, it's funny when you said, like, the situation wasn't, like, funny, but you mentioned, I didn't imagine my youth here in Cleveland, but you are only 23.
True.
To me, youth includes all of your 20s, if not some of your 30s.
Yeah, I would say, like, after 35, if you don't have, like, an idea, or if you're not happy in your job, how have you... I'm impressed that you've been lasting there that long. Yeah. Like, that is over 15 years.
Do you see yourself having a midlife crisis? Yes or no?
Ooh. I feel like I already had a midlife crisis.
I feel like every...
a quarter-life crisis for sure. When I turned 20, I was like, oh my God.
After graduation, I had like a 2-month, I would say, crisis. An epidemic.
That's good. I had a year of that. My first year was bad.
Those 2 months, like, in reflection, they sucked. I was very... like lethargic. I didn't really want to. Like, I was very.
Yeah, I think every time you're like expelled from a system that you've been exposed to for a long time, you're like, what? Now you're just out in the world because really, from the time you're 5 years old, you're put through something, and especially if your parents are very involved, like mine were. Like, you know, you get put in this program or that, or sports or theater or whatever. For me, it was like, now just do whatever you want.
I think though. You know, if things go well for me in the next few years and I get to where I want to be and I'm doing stuff that I want to do and I'm financially stable, I don't think I'll ever have a midlife crisis.
I feel like...
Well, if you're constantly challenging yourself, not to be content, then you're already exposed to, like, what can I be doing for myself? Like, you take a lot of initiative in your own happiness, and that's so important. Because I don't think a lot of people do. Like, they let their job be this for them. They get distracted by their family or their spouse or whatever. And if you're always thinking of, like, what's best for me, like, what in the past has done wonders for me, I guess.
I think my biggest problem is I'm afraid to be happy. Like, I know what I need to do in order to get to where I need to be. But every time I do that, I feel this, like, rush of happiness, and then I go back to, like, reality, and it's, like, such a huge, like, mental thing with my emotions that it's, like, almost like I should just stay this constant, like, okay, it's slowly going, you know? But I have had times in my life where I'm, like, doing everything I like, but I'm exhausted, and people are like, my mom, my family's like, we don't see you anymore, or, like, you realize you haven't, like, talked to the opposite, you haven't been interested in somebody in, like, 6 months. You're like, that's weird. Like, I'm supposed to always, but we also put pressures on ourselves to do all of these things instead of just focusing on what we want and being okay with it. And I feel like you are really good at just, like, you're like, well, I'm going to write today. And I want to finish this book by Friday. And you do it, and I feel like you don't feel guilty. And, like, I feel guilty every time I do anything for myself. I probably get that from my mom. And even though people are like, you always seem, like, happy and everything like that, it's like, yeah, I mean, like, could be worse. Like, I could be, like, dead. But that's what I always, like, yeah, like, it could be a completely different situation. But it's just, like, I'm really afraid of, like, I feel like every time I, like, feel, like, really happy, I'm like, this is bad. Because we're not trained in America to be like, happy is okay. Like,
I don't know. It's interesting that you said that. For me, it's like, I know what's going to bring me happiness, and it's going to be me in this job. And so
that's nice.
I mean, not like this job isn't like this podcast, but just doing the work that I want to.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean,
but I think it's awesome that you're not afraid to do it. I'm afraid to do it because I'm afraid of like being like successful and like respectful for something, because I'm so used to constantly like being like put down through like school and like certain family members.
That's crazy. I feel like you have a lot of talking heads in your life. And you're like,
and I listen to them.
You do a really good job of not being influenced, but like I can still tell
totally
like you reflect on it all the time.
Yeah, and it just gets
like
it's
rough.
just like. And I'm wasting good energy when I should just focus on, and because I have some friends like, you should be doing this, and that.
I can't
and
believe like that's just so
it's just
crazy.
and it takes a toll, and it's all built up, and at the end of the day, I guess it's easier to be unhappy than happy, like emotionally.
Yeah,
like
I think
it takes
easier.
more muscles to smile than it is to frown, and I think that's how it is emotionally too.
I think it's one of those things too where it's easy to handicap ourselves almost.
Oh yeah,
I can't do this because of this and that and blah blah blah, and like then it takes away the responsibility, and you never have to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Do you
Okay,
wanna-
yes. Let me look up what I wrote down. I said, what age do you feel you show people versus the age you actually feel on the inside? Like, for example, I feel like I show people that I'm like 16 years old. I don't give a F about anything. And like, I feel like that's how people view me sometimes too.
I think you like go into that sometimes when you want to, like it's appropriate for the situation that you're in. Like you're extroverted like a teenager would in a careless way when it should be that way, and you make people feel comfortable. But I think like you said about being 29/30, like you always seem to have a mind for like that part of your future. Like this is where I want to be in my career, and this is where I'd like to be in my relationships, and even like in a physical position in the world. So I don't know.
I think
don't know
I'm
what I show
perceived
myself.
as either maybe 14 or 34. The reason being is because sometimes when I get silly, when I get silly and crazy, and I turn everything into like a comedy show, or I'm like stand up, starring me, Matt Hribar, the Gamut Report, Matt Hribar.
Yeah.
I can come across like 14. I can come across like I'm some like little high school boy, like who's cracking jokes in the back of the classroom. But I think sometimes when I interact with strangers, and I'm just casually like, oh, this is what I do, this is who I am, this is my interest, this is what I've succeeded.
They probably think
it comes
you're
across like
older.
34.
I
The
can see
fact that I've written 33 novels, it even astounds me at the age of 22. And I don't even pop that number to be like
I think
bragging.
people
It's
think
just like,
you're lying.
I think people think I'm lying too. And
I don't know how to convey to them. I was like, no, he literally writes all the
I
time.
have a picture of
'cause
my
people don't do that for
bibliography, and
themselves.
this actually pissed me off the other day. So I was working with a colleague, and they're older than me, and they were like, I would love to be a writer. And I was like, oh, that's great. Like, I'm a writer too. Although I hate the word, like I hate when people say writer, because like if you write one like article for a blog a month, are you a writer?
That's how I feel about acting. I don't like saying when people
If
are
you
like, I'm an actor.
do it
No, I act.
consistently.
Yeah, you
I'm not
write.
an
You
actor.
like writing.
It's the verb.
Yeah, it's the
I
the
think
verb.
that
Yeah, but
matters
if
more
you're
than the
acting
noun.
and writing at least consistently, I would say you are safe to go by that title.
I think that's my love of words makes it so that like I wish that there were like ways, like the way that we phrase words, that like if it's an activity that you're casually interested in, we could differentiate that from an activity that you're like intensely a part of. Like I would say, I love working out. I work out 6 days a week. I love writing. I write 6
So you
days
wouldn't
a
say
week
you're
too.
like a fitness.
Oh, I would never say. Even though I feel like I've worked out more than people would ever imagine in their whole life, but it's just like I would never say like I'm a fitness queen. Like,
Yeah.
Never.
But I think that's a huge, so it's a huge thing to me. And I think people are like, oh my gosh, like that's so, you seem so old, or you seem like way past your years because of
just
what
like,
you've accomplished.
No,
sometimes.
I'm passionate.
It's passion,
and I
yeah.
see it. I want it.
But back to this story. So this colleague was like, I love writing. I'd love to be a writer. And I was like, well, what have you written? And they're like, oh, I don't have a laptop. And I was like, okay.
What about paper and pencil?
Well, yeah.
Like the
and
good
I said,
old-fashioned-
and I wasn't really trying to get into it because I was getting a little frustrated because like
That's so
basically every
deep to you.
idea I had to like how you could write was like passed off. Like I'm like, oh well, you could go to a library and use the public library computer to like handwrite if you wanted to. Like are you even like brainstorming ideas? Like a lot of when I start to write a story and I'm plotting it out, I like to actually write by hand just ideas and like put plot threads together. And it was like,
they
no,
want to
no.
be a writer. They
And
don't want to actually write.
That's the thing. I'm
That's
like,
why
what
that's
if
the
you-
problem with the noun
But that's
and not
anything.
the verb.
That's the part with anything. It's like I want to be an accountant, and you're like, okay, well, what have you been doing? Oh, well, like, I have a calculator. Like what? Like, or someone who's like, I would love to be a bartender. And you're like, great. It's like, what have you been doing to become a bartender? And they're like, well, like I make like one drink a week. Like, no, wouldn't you be reading books? You would be studying.
or
You'd be trying to get that experience,
Start
get that
off
job.
being a waitress, work your way up, or a waiter.
Exactly. And like so, and it goes with anything. It goes.
Yeah.
And that's why I also feel sometimes older than I am, because it's like I put in so much time compared to most people when it comes to my passions that it's almost unbelievable. I've met people who would want to be doing podcasts like this, and I know I'm lucky enough to have the studio, the access, and like the Adobe Audition, but. Well, have you been trying to work with public radio? Because
I think what it comes down
to work with
is what you feel comfortable either doing, or like people are so used to like complaining. That's such a fad. Complaining is funny. Complaining is relatable, and being happy is not relatable to people. And like following your passion is not relatable. Settling is the norm. And but not to everybody. I feel like we're slowly building an environment for ourselves where like we're going to be around a group of people who don't settle, like friendship wise. But
no, it's a huge thing is in terms of friends and even dates,
or like just society.
If there's a lack of passion in someone, it's so like if you're passionate about snails. And you have like a snail farm, and you like study snails.
No, that's
and
pretty...
you're about to publish like the top snail article in the country.
Oh my gosh.
I will always respect you. If you have no passion, you work a job, no matter what the job is. Like it could be something as like very luxurious to very non-luxurious, but all you do is go home, play video games, do Netflix.
But if you're passionate about your job, does that cancel?
What if you're not?
Saying? But if you're not, and you just go home and just...
What if you're just doing a job because you got the degree and you're just existing, you're not living? Like
I don't know how those people do it.
I don't get it. I don't relate to that at all. Like you don't have anything that you will fight for, anything that you will kill for.
People have to do like the realistic things in the world too.
You have to do
like,
things that you have to do, and then before you can do things that you want to do.
No, and I agree.
So I think you can eventually do stuff you want. You just have to maybe spend time doing things that it's not ideal. It's
just very hard for me to relate.
Out.
You know, I get working 40 hours a week, you know, at a job that maybe you don't like is necessary to live. But then like take another 10 out of your week and do something that you love. And whether that's, you know, I love collecting stamps.
You have to sacrifice.
Whether that's, I love going to art museums. You know, do something extra.
And that's hard for people to do.
Be extra. That's the only time I'll say that.
Be extra with your time, with your energy.
Take it up. Take it up the next level. I guess one question to kind of bring it back. Do you actually have a picture of yourself, maybe when you're 60, 65, 70? What are you going to be doing when you reach that age when most people are like, old person? And I'm not saying that to be, but that's kind of how people perceive it, sadly.
I have an aunt who's going through that right now.
When you get your social security check, when you are able to go to Bob Evans for $2 cheaper on your meals, because they do that, Bob Evans, fun fact. But anyway, when you get your AARP card, what kind of plans do you have? What kind of things do you see at that age?
I feel like I'm going to be crazy because my time now when I don't have work or a schedule, I'm insane. I'll like wake up the next day and be like, I'm exhausted. There are times, I remember when I was on break for my program in Chicago, I had a week off and I came back and a teacher yelled at me. He was like, how did you not rest for the following weeks of this program? And I was like, you gave me 7 days to do whatever I want. You think I was gonna rest?
Yeah.
No, I did everything under the sun. Think I'm gonna be a crazy lady? I would go broke spending all my retirement because I'm what worst case scenario, I could just end it. You know,
that always frustrates me about people when they have an off day from work and they're doing nothing.
But because you're exhausted, maybe, right?
I mean, you sleep and then you get up and do something else. I don't know. Yeah. I just there's a million things I would want to do with this part of my day and that part of my day. I'm like, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Hour by hour,
for me,
I'm like, well,
I've had days where I wake up, I go to the gym, I come home, I grab my stuff, and I go to Panera Bread, and I sit there for 7 hours and write.
He does it,
and
guys.
Do stuff.
He's not lying.
And
I witnessed it.
So some people, that would be terrible. They'd be like, I have to work out, and then I have to go write for 7 hours. To me, I love it. I get so much done, and I have something.
Yeah, but when you're retired, I just see myself being trying to call up whoever's still alive and trying to be or if my husband passed away, I can see myself finding a replaceable
doing
cub.
it all over.
Yeah,
I don't see myself that far in the future.
Here's what. Well, okay, this is gonna be scary for you because I have a lot of things I want to do when I'm older.
I picture myself in a warm environment.
I don't think I'll ever retire.
Nobody is sitting in Cleveland at the age of 65.
But I feel like it's affordable to come back though. I could probably live like a king because I feel like I'm living like a king now. My grandma
After
does
the age of 60?
She's 93.
When has she left the house? She leaves the
For
house
holidays.
2 times a year.
And for food.
That's the thing. I know when I'm older, I do not want to be in a retirement home.
No, I imagine, you know the hat that you wore on vacation? if I don't know why, like when you said
white
60 something, I instantly went to like sunglass. Like I imagine myself as Kris Jenner at 60. No, without the facelifts and the eyeliner, but like wearing something loose fitting and a big hat.
There's a couple of accomplishments. I know that I want to get my PhD when I'm older.
Oh, wow.
At 65, 70.
Oh, yeah, it's cheaper.
I would get my, here's why.
I would
want to get my PhD in sociology because I love sociology. It's just the career thing.
You bring it up all the time.
The problem is the career thing. I don't really have a career interest in anything that really connects sociology.
Sound like it takes a lot of like work.
I'm very interested in humans. That's why I think I'm good with podcasting and very good with
behaviors.
Just social. Like, what are people about? I love kind of studying people. So I would love to do that. I think I don't know. I don't want to live in a retirement home. I don't want to like have to support people. So I want to be as independent as long as possible. I don't think I'm going to live forever though. I think I'm probably going to die between 70 and 85 most likely.
That's really young though now. Everybody lives between 70s though. Yeah. Late 80s, 90s is the norm now. What age do you think
I'll live to?
I would say like 90s.
Oh,
I feel like, because if you think my grandma, looking at her and what she was like born in like, I don't know, like 1912 or something ridiculous.
I'll be on like my 20th book series when I'm in my 90s.
You'll be on your like 169th book series. So let's be honest here.
And also another thing too, this is kind of random, but I've always thought about like tattoos, like getting a tattoo, but with age, I'm always worried that like the tattoo will be skewed. And I want to know, like...
Well, that's why people look at it as artwork.
I want to see good tattoos that made it from, like, 20 or 30.
There's an...
We'll get it somewhere that's not going to stretch and sag.
There's definitely a BuzzFeed article.
Like your foot.
That's what I'm worried about. I'm always worried that, like, with my body, I'm, like, the Pokemon Ditto, where it's just, like, a... Blah, blah, blah. And, like, my tattoos are not going to be any crazy.
No, I've seen people online who are even around our age who've, like, lost and gained a lot of weight and, like, age. They all look fine.
Rob Kardashian.
Oh.
Got fat.
Any other comments about age or memories or just whatever I love this conversation. I don't even know. We just kind of like wound around and just like, we kind of just took like a Sunday afternoon stroll in this conversation. I love it.
Definitely.
Well, thank you guys for being on here, Jeezy J, ET, and we'll have to have you on another one. The conversation was too good, too spicy.
Spicy.
And anyway, thank you. Bye.